Suspicion, it's in my soul.
Welcome to the Salt Strong Podcast, disrupting fishing entertainment as you know it. Prepare to laugh. Prepare to get to know fishing legends in a whole new and unfiltered way. And on occasion, you might even learn a thing or two about fishing. Here's your host, Joe Simons. Like diamonds.
God. Hey there, guys. Joe Simons, like diamonds, back again with Salt Strong Unchurched. Got a good one here today, a powerful one. True story that just happened to my buddy Josh. And I really want to get him on the show to have him tell this story. I've not spoken with him yet, but I'll just tell you what I know, and I'll tell you kind of my impression of him and what happened here in his life. So Josh worked for me in my prior life when I was in the financial services industry, and Josh came out of college, essentially. He was a collegiate soccer player, just in amazing shape. You should imagine, a 24-year-old guy, just super competitive, aggressive. I mean, just a perfect person that you want on like a sales team. And he came in just hungry. He wanted to learn everything, and really, really just great guy. He was also the guy, he was young too in college. I don't blame him. He was out, partying a lot. He was kind of the party guy, always, out in the town, having fun, meeting girls, etc. And I don't know that he ever went to church. I don't really know his background, honestly, on where he stood. And, back then we didn't have unchurched in my prior life. We didn't really talk about that kind of stuff as much. Heck, even my business partner there was a Jewish guy, and we didn't really talk about faith like I do today. And I would describe Josh as kind of agnostic, just someone who probably believed in God, but didn't really put much emphasis on it. Certainly wasn't going to church, probably had never read the Bible. I mean, these are all my impressions of him, just from what I know working for or having him work for me for a couple of years. And so I kind of lost touch with Josh, but we're still, friends on Facebook. And I recently saw that he's married, a couple little kids, and out of the blue, and once again, this is a guy who's still in incredibly good shape, jogger, working out all the time, pretty ripped and jacked guy. And he's 32 years old, maybe 31, 32. And out of the blue gets a massive, massive stroke, like almost kills him. Lucky that someone found him and was even alive type of a stroke out of the blue. Okay. So imagine this young guy working, just doing life, young couple, brand new little kids, lovely wife, and you're, low 30s, 30 years old, and having a massive, massive stroke to the point they didn't think he was going to make it. So he is unresponsive, and I don't know that there was any kind of coma or anything. I'm just trying to dive into all the stuff I found on online, but anyhow, they didn't give him much hope that he was going to recover quickly. Certainly not, and really just a lot of uncertainty on his life. Now, here's the craziest part: there is no root cause for it. The doctors still cannot find what happened, why this happened. Is it a fluke? Is it some rare disease? Still no one knows what happened here. So during this whole thing, and this is where I want to get him on just to see what happened, because I don't know the story, but I know what he's sharing. And he is claiming that something supernatural happened to him while he was going through this. And I knew Josh in the past. I know him in the future from what I'm at least seeing. And the dude now has Jesus shirts on. And so he was saved, and something what you would call miraculous happened. The dude looks like nothing happened. Like you would never know. He just had a massive stroke, was in the hospital, was getting rushed around all kinds of places and choppers. I mean, this is absolutely nuts. And the doctors can't explain what happened. He can't explain what happened, except that he believes it's God and Jesus laid hands on him, and just some miracle happened with Josh. And Once again, I'm going to ask him to come on the show and kind of share more, because I'm sure it's a really, really just intriguing, interesting story. But it just got me thinking about how many miracles that we've all heard, and maybe you've been a part of, when we put God first and ask God to come into our lives. Sadly, many times we do this when we're at rock bottom or feeling helpless or hopeless, like Josh was. I can only imagine, what you're going through when you have a stroke and you can't feel your body. Nothing's moving, and to have a miracle like that, to essentially recover in a really, really short amount of time and be almost back to normal after having a stroke that they didn't think he was going to be able to walk again. It's absolutely just miraculous. And he's just giving all the credit to God. He's like, it wasn't a doctor. There was no medicine I took. It was literally, it just happened, and it was God. And now in every one of his shirts, it's got Jesus on. And he's like, I'm giving all the credit where credit is due. So anyhow, I also went back to, I shared, I guess it was a couple podcasts ago, about this. It was called Toys R Us versus God, or versus Jesus, or over Jesus. And there was another article, and it was going, I think it was like Nat Geo, where someone went to Jerusalem, and they were investigating some where Jesus was buried, and same deal, looking through the comments, and all the negativity. It's just crazy that, why are we still talking about Jesus? It's a fairy tale. Like, what do you mean it's a fairy tale? People saying that he never even existed. We all know that is not true. That's almost kind of silly to say he didn't exist. But I started clicking on some of these people. I just became curious. And so I'm going to click on some of the people, the ones who were just really, really rude and sarcastic. And what was interesting, some of them I couldn't see much, but the ones where I could see their profile, and, some of these people didn't have any privacy settings on, and I could see everything in their lives, they were really, really miserable people. And struggling with a lot of stuff, and depression, and just negativity, and cursing left and right. And one guy, I just can't find a job. I just can't catch a break. And that's the same person who is literally making fun of and belittling God and Jesus on Facebook. I don't know. What I know from my life, anytime I've hit some sort of rock bottom, or I am feeling just a little lost or hopeless, I turn to God, and shame on me. Sometimes it takes me longer than normal to do that, where, we try to fix everything ourselves so many times, when the answer, and like my buddy Josh learned, it's just giving it over to God. If you look at all the different stories in the Bible, it's so repetitive, and I think it's because God is trying to ram it into our heads. There is always some sort of conflict in almost all the stories, and with all the people from David and Solomon, Abraham, Saul. All of them, there's some sort of conflict, right, that they're going through. They have to hand it over to God, and to put God first, to put God in their life, and then God ends up taking care of them and showing them the way. Now, there's also the story over and over and over again of good defeating evil, when God on the good side is in charge. It's every single time in the story, right? There's not one that didn't go that way. And once again, I think it's because God is telling us to turn to me, to give it to me. To when you have issues, when you have enemies slashing out at you, whether it be a stroke or it be literally people trying to tear you down, give it over to God and turn to God. We're dealing with something right now. I can't share all the details, but it's basically a big enemy trying to come after us for something that not only do we not do it, it's documented. It's a trademark issue with the USPTO, and they're trying to come after us to reverse everything that's already been in place. And I'm shaking my head. Even our IP attorney is saying, like, this is it's a bully tactic. They're literally just trying to bully you, because it's a massive, massive, massive company. Like, almost $1 billion company trying to come after us right now. And at first, I'll be honest, I freaked out. Just, you don't never like to get overnight letters from attorneys and cease and desist stuff. And then I was like, I'm going to turn this over to God. We did what we're supposed to do. We didn't do anything wrong. And I'm not going to lose sleep over this. I'm going to give it to God and know, just like he does in the Bible, if I give it to God and know that I've done the right thing, and these people, I'm going to assume they're evil just because of the way that they've phrased everything and trying to come after us for no good reason except to try to take money from us, I guess. I'm just going to trust that God is going to take care of us, and the good people will prevail, even though they're a much larger company. And it just gave me so much peace. Now, will I have to face it again if there is a true lawsuit? Yeah. But it's just so much easier. I guess what I'm trying to say, I can't imagine going through life not believing that there's a God, not believing that there's some higher power there on my side, not believing that I'm here for some reason, right? Do all these people, like those ones that I was clicking on, who are the haters and saying, oh, this whole Jesus and God and Christianity thing is a joke, never existed. There's no religion's all a hoax and a joke. I mean, what happens when you have that bad day or bad month or whatever it is? What happens when you hit rock bottom? What happens when you have health issues? You just believe we're all here just randomly and nothing matters. You don't matter. Like, that's so depressing. No wonder these people are miserable and are out there lashing out and just making fun and cursing people on social media. They're probably miserable inside. God gives me, and I'm guessing you, if you're listening to this, so much peace and even just understanding. Gosh, I just can't imagine going through life. And so anyhow, I just wanted to share that with you. My buddy Josh pulled up in my Facebook feed, and I was like, oh my gosh, I got to do a podcast about this. And it just hit me with dealing with all this lawsuit stuff, that every time I've been in a tough place, every time that I've been in just kind of a helpless mode. I mean, going back to the anxiety, and I just put God first, it made everything so much better when you just hand it over to him, realize, you know what, he will protect me if I do the right thing. If I'm being honest with myself, right? Because if you're doing evil stuff, then you're probably going to have a tough time making that right. But if you're doing everything right, and you're truly doing what's in the God's best interest for you, he will protect you. And many times, like my buddy Josh can create miracles. And now Josh is able to share his experience with, who knows how many people. You can clearly tell just from his Facebook post that he is all in, and that something miraculous happened. The fact that doctors can't even figure out what it was. So I'm going to be reaching out to Josh here this week to get him on the podcast. You guys can hear the full story, and I would just encourage you, if you're going through a tough time, or even if you're not, even if you want some clarity on the next steps, turn to God. My best advice, and this was something that really just changed my life with my walk with God, was to start the day talking to him. And every single morning, with the exception of like maybe a handful throughout the entire year, I will sit there at my desk. If I'm at home or if I'm on vacation, whatever, I'll go outside and I'll just sit there and pray. And I'll literally talk with God. And many times I'm writing, just kind of writing to him about things going on and what I'm grateful for. It's amazing what happens when you start your day like that. Because here's what I know: when I didn't do that and I would say I would do it, it's kind of like saying you're going to work out, and if you don't do it in the morning, all of a sudden it's 9 o'clock at night, 10 o'clock, and you're finally ready to go to bed. You're like, I'll just go to bed, do it tomorrow. It's so easy to put it off. And I've seen my life change way for the better when I start the day off praying with God. Even if it's just 5 or 10 minutes, it does not have to be an hour, just 5 or 10 minutes, kind of giving your day over to God, saying, God, I trust you. I love you. I'm so grateful for all of your favor and protection and love. And I want to give this day to you. It's amazing the little miracles that happen. It's amazing how much more even just energy I have in the day. And I mentioned there's some times I've skipped it, whether it's sleeping in or, whatever. I stayed up too late the night before, and I can feel it the next day. It's like, man, what happened? The day's just not right. It's so wild what it does. So that would be my challenge to you. This is why the title's Got God. Put God in your life. Start every single day just talking to him, thanking him for life, for health, for the gift of love, and the gift of miracles as well. And even just 5 minutes, just writing down what you're grateful for. I'm telling you, it is an absolute game changer. So love you guys. I'm going to reach out to my boy Josh to see if I can get him on the podcast. And I hope you have an amazing week. And hit me up with any questions, or I'd love to hear any miracles that happen in your life too. If you have something to share, if you want to even be on the podcast, let me know. Joe@saltstrong.com.
'Cause fishing, it's in my soul. It was